Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to Cool's Reviews Deep Dives, our final one of Halloween season 2025. And what better film to end it off than The Conjuring, which has spawned a whole universe. The Conjuring house itself has been in the news for 2 years at this point, it seems like, David. I know we've wanted to talk about it, but it seems like news
Yeah.
keeps coming and going, so we'll wait till it seems like it gets settled down. But yeah, Conjuring, we actually just talked the final one recently on our pop culture chat, and it was kind of fun to go back to where it began as far as the movies and see the fun little tie-ins. Because I forgot Annabelle was as big as she was in this one. I remembered at the beginning, but I forgot she came back as like because the demon was using Annabelle in a way. And so I was like, it kind of makes sense then why they brought Annabelle back and kind of to tie it all together in Last Rites. But David, what are your thoughts with The Conjuring? Uh, kind of going into the point, did you know Conjuring the house history before the movie, or did you learn about it because of the movie?
No, I knew about the Warrens and such and their things they had done, and I know that it was like kind of a footnote in like their case histories. I don't think it was nearly as big a deal because if you look at the actual case files, the Warrens didn't have a lot to do with the Conjuring house.
Mm-mm.
They went in there basically once and had a couple things happen, and then Ed Warren literally got punched out by the father of the house and told them never to come back, and that was kind of all of their involvement in what really happened there. So I knew about it from like that case and things that had happened, but not, of course, the narrative that they made up for the movie.
Yeah, which I think you can also see with the second Conjuring one, as far as the house they picked, and the Warrens weren't really there that long. The
No,
finale of that movie would have been a phone call if it followed really what happened. And I don't know. This one's complicated. I think as a horror movie, maybe we'll start there. I think as a horror movie and just like that aspect, this works really well. When we get into an
it's very
historical part,
entertaining.
yeah,
It's a good movie.
yeah, I think it's shot well. Some of the camera angles and how they use the camera just to create like unease
The
and
tension and everything, yeah.
tension, I think works well. It's a lot of it too is kind of grounded up until the finale. I think a lot of the scares and stuff much more grounded than what we end up with in Last Rites. I think.
Yeah, I also feel like the Conjuring series as a whole, I don't like that they rely so much on jump scares for the scares.
Hmm.
Like honestly, the stories in themselves are creepy enough that they could make it very scary without having to resort to a bunch of suddenly like there's a demon, kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think the scare that worked best, and it didn't like scare me, but I liked the idea of it. Was just when she looks under her bed because you expect it to be there and it wasn't.
Yeah,
And then they're like, "Where is it?" And you see the door slowly like opening, and the camera tilts like it's upside down and tilts right side up. I just thought that was
very cool camera
great
work.
film. Yeah, and yeah, I think as a film and crafting who we're supposed to follow in this whole series. Now, what works really well, but did they know they were making a second one before this, or was it again kind of this
I
worked
don't
out
think they knew
well?
for a fact. I think they wanted to keep, they're like there was a lot of cases they could do, but I don't think there was anything definite when they started this one.
Not a whole cinematic universe worth of ideas. Then,
Definitely not. Yeah, they didn't think, oh, we're gonna do Annabelle, we're gonna do the Nun, we're gonna yeah.
yeah, because the nun was pretty fictionalized. Like I know the La Llorona is like the most like out there. It's like not even connected.
Yeah,
Like
it's more like, oh, Ed and Lorraine said this one thing one time. Let's make a whole movie off of it.
yeah. Well, and so this one starts off with Annabelle, who's become the mascot, and you can see it in any Halloween store. Nah, I mean everyone knows what Annabelle from The Conjuring looks like. Vastly different from the real Annabelle, who was a Raggedy Ann doll, which David you said would be scarier,
I think it would be scarier because
just
it
because
just looks like a regular toy. Yeah,
yeah, because who's giving that porcelain doll to a kid? And
nobody.
I guess we can get into that if we talk Annabelle at some point because there's a whole trilogy there. But yeah,
Which
the
makes
right
no sense.
That's what I said last night during watching the movie of Conjuring. I was like, the Annabelle trilogy doesn't even make sense connected to the Conjuring because
the story of Annabelle literally is wrapped up in like the 10-minute segment of this first movie.
Yeah,
that's the Annabelle story. I don't like how we got 3 movies baffles me.
Well, and the third one is just a Conjuring movie, pretty much. It's just in the Conjuring house.
Yeah, which again makes no sense.
No, I think it's my favorite of the Annabelle series, though. I don't know if that's saying a lot, but low bars. Brennan, do you think the regular Raggedy Ann would be scarier?
Yeah, I guess just because of the you don't expect it from coming from that type of toy or doll. But I definitely think like the porcelain Annabelle looks way creepier and weird.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But
I think as looks wise, obviously the one looks scarier. I think the whole everyone has had a Raggedy Ann somewhere close to him at some point is the scarier part. Because you're like, it could have been my Raggedy Ann, you know what I'm saying?
Or I mean, just that a demon could be in literally anything it wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which in here they say the demon wasn't in Annabelle, and then I was trying to remember if in the Annabelle ones the demon was. I can't remember now.
well, that was my problem because like in the Annabelle movie, it was the Annabelle was a human that went to go kill somebody, got killed in the house holding the Annabelle doll, and her soul possessed Annabelle.
See, and none of that makes any sense because there's no real person. There is no Annabelle. It's a demon.
Well, and that's why I was confused because it says that in these movies, and I was like, wait, so does that even
as
though
far
Annabelle
as far as real life goes, from what I understand, the Annabelle name came from, they realized this doll was kind of moving on its own, like something weird was going on, and they called in like a medium or something like that to try to figure out what was happening. And I guess they discovered, or the medium told them, I think, that a little girl had been killed like right outside their door at that house, like run over or something like that, and that it was her spirit that had migrated into the doll, and its name was Annabelle. And then it came out, as things got a little worse, that it was a demon that was using that name to try to trick people into being like, oh, it's just a little girl. Because as soon as they found out it was a little girl, they started treating it like a little girl, like really nicely, letting it in, stuff like that. But it was a demon just trying to get a further like purchase onto their lives and their souls and stuff like that.
Right.
So I don't think there ever was an Annabelle. I think the entire thing was concocted by whatever entity is inside Annabelle to try to make it seem like an innocent. I mean, it's the same thing that's happening at the Sally house, where it's a demon, but trying to say that it's the ghost of the little girl that died during the surgery there or whatever. Like, it's not a little girl. They try to look harmless and ingratiate themselves to you just to get a better hold on your soul, basically. So that's what I believe. Like, that's what supposedly is the real story of Annabelle, and that's why the doll is locked up in the cage or in the cabinet and holy water and all that stuff, and you're not supposed to ever open it.
So there is a TV show, pretty well known, called The Twilight Zone.
I've never heard of that. What is that?
It's an old TV show, black and white, anthology series. But on November 1st, 1963, there was an episode called The Living Doll.
Yeah, you told me about this, about the very Annabelle.
Yeah, Annabelle buys her daughter, Christy, a wind-up doll. So in it, there's a haunted doll, and he keeps trying to get rid of it. It comes back. It writes notes. And a lot of people have started to wonder if that's where the story of Annabelle actually came from.
Okay, so tell me this right now. Do you believe Annabelle is a demon?
No.
The one that's in the case?
No.
You think it's just a Raggedy Ann doll?
Yes.
With a good story?
Yes. A very
Brenden,
good story, obviously.
Well, I don't know. Some of
no wishy-washy. Is it or is it not?
Is
it a demon or is it not?
Yeah.
I didn't say could it. Is it?
Yes.
It is a demon.
You know, when it went missing a couple months ago, all that weird stuff started happening from where it was.
Well, okay, that's
People
actually a lie.
died or whatever
Never went.
happened. And
It never went missing. But weird shit happened when they took it on tour around,
Yeah.
culminating in one of the caretakers mysteriously dying, having sudden cardiac arrest.
Now, the question is, David, maybe the doll itself was never a demon, but could people thinking it was a demon help it become one?
I think that that's very possible. I think either it was a cursed object, it was a demonic thing, but if it wasn't, so many people have put that energy into it that it allowed an actual demon to really be like, all right, sure, and take it over and become like a demonic idol, basically.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, I know there's a lot of like poltergeist cases too, where a lot of times they say it's actually your own energy making the poltergeist.
Which is why a lot of poltergeist activity seems to have like troubled children involved, like teens and stuff, that it's like mental. Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, maybe like the Annabelle, like there's so many, because people are going there wanting to get spooked, and so they're maybe that energy's like transferring over to the doll or whatever.
See, what's funny is, and I know this is wildly off of the movie, I'm sorry. I think if the Annabelle story was coming from anywhere besides the Warrens, I'd believe it a little stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Because of everything with the Warrens, I'm very torn about how much belief I have in the things they did, them specifically. I don't think they're nearly as clean as what a lot of, like, as the movie would like you to think. I think they did do a lot for the paranormal field, and I think some of the things they did were genuine. I do think I think they were involved in the life of all the paranormal stuff. I do believe that, they probably had run-ins with demons and such, but I think a lot of it's probably sensationalized. I think there's some things that are just 100% made up. For example, Lorraine's psychic encounter with Bigfoot.
Hey, Bigfoot is a psychic, I've heard though.
Can't wait to see that Conjuring movie. But for example, if I had to pick, I would give more credence and more believability to Robert the doll down in Florida over Annabelle personally. Like, out of the two, if I had to pick one that I believe is something actually to be wary of and has like demonic forces attached kind of thing, I think that one is the superior evil doll in my opinion. And mainly because all this bad shit's happened, like it's horrible, but they have not basically monetized it. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's there and people can see it and lots of things have happened, but it's never been like ooh, come and see
on tour. Yeah.
Exactly. They're not like Robert sails around the country, no. They're more like, no, we're not fucking taking this thing anywhere.
Now, I guess that could all change, right? Because Annabelle, to be fair, wasn't being toured until I think post the movie is when.
Because I don't think enough people would have cared.
Yeah, it's just, granted, doll's super creepy, anyways, right?
No, you are, from what I understand though, she did go out a few times because the Warrens themselves did take Annabelle to a few of their seminars, things like that in her entire case, like because Tony was actually talking to people because they were all like, I can't believe you disrespect them and take it. She's never supposed to leave, all this. He was like, guys, the Warrens themselves sometimes took Annabelle places. Like, there's pictures of her on the road with them. Like, they stayed very careful about the way they did it and everything, but they did take a lot of those items out to occasionally show for educational purposes or TV shows, things like that. Like, they did take advantage of it. They just did it safely. So I think it's much more now because of the movies, though. Like, they would never have done a whole, like, all across the country tour. They would do, like, one place and back. It was never like it is today.
Well, and speaking of, because of the movies, one location obviously became much more popular because of the movies. And I gotta say, the actual house itself, not as creepy as this movie house. As far as what we've seen. Like, even when I was rewatching The Conjuring, and even the walls look like really dirty and run down in the movie. And you watch like The Conjuring or watch like videos from the actual house itself, and you're like, it just looks like a log cabin type of house, like nothing spooky
No,
about it.
the house is in a little disrepair. Like it needs to be taken care of, but
Yeah,
it's not creepy whatsoever. It's just it's an old house.
yeah, yeah. Because we've seen what disrepair can lead to, like the whole thing having to come down, like in Bobby Mackey's, where there was just so much wrong with it. That was the easier option, is to just rebuild. And so hopefully, I guess we'll have to just get to it. Conjuring House itself is up for sale, David. Or
We don't. Maybe it might be.
maybe as far as like that, it was going to be for sale on Halloween, but somebody bought the mortgage lien.
Which we don't know if that means they're going to foreclose it and do an auction. If they're going to keep it, like it's very up in the air from what I understand. We can't get solid facts. It seems from anybody right now.
Yeah, we have no idea if it's a entity like a business that bought it, like another mortgage broker, or you know.
Because it could be somebody bought the debt and was like, "Hey, I think this auction is going to go for so much that I'm going to make money off of getting to be the auctioneer." Because they're taking a gamble. Because I think she still owed like 1.5, maybe even a little less or something, but she owed a lot of money on it.
Yeah, I think it sold for a little over 1.5, and you got to think now
And how
with
much did
like
she pay off of
fines
that?
and
You think?
stuff. Yeah, I'm sure it's a little over 1.5. It's going to have to go for, and I'm sure it will. It
Because
has the
and if it was
reputation.
mortgaged, you got to like what percentage did she have it at? You know, how much interest is on there that she owes and late fees. So they probably bought it for somewhere between 1 and 2 million, I would have to assume, the debt. And then now that they own that debt, what are they going to do with it? Which a lot of people seem to think they're still going to auction it. It may not be on Halloween anymore, but it looks like they're kind of leaning towards it's going to still get auctioned. And I think it's going to go for an astronomical price.
Yeah, and that's where it's going to be interesting to see who ends up buying it, what it turns into, if it stays around, which I think it will. I think somebody's going to buy it knowing they can probably make money off of it.
Like, why would you know? That's like buying a theme park and not selling tickets.
Yeah, I mean, it was going for pretty crazy prices, and we've looked into some prices it might go for if some people buy it, and it's still going to be a couple grand to stay there a night. So why wouldn't you make the money off of that? You know, it just seems
Especially if
like,
you're having to spend this much to get in there, like
yeah,
to own it. If you're blowing $3 million to buy this place, you want it to churn a profit.
yeah. Which it's a place that who's who has gone to, right? Outside of, I mean, Ed and Lorraine Warren, right? Uh, Ghost Hunters, as far as like Jason. I don't know. Did Ghost Adventures go there?
Probably.
I'm sure they did. Paranormal State, I'm sure, has gone there.
Like, and I think, and some of them have been multiple times.
Yeah.
Of course, most recently, even though I don't really like them that much, Sam and Colby, they were there
Yeah.
for like a week straight, right?
Yeah. Project Fear.
Project Fear was there. Like, it is a hotspot go-to, easy name recognition for paranormal anything.
And
I
again,
mean,
a
hell,
lot of that is because of the
if you
movie.
bought it, you could not even just people staying the night for investigations. You could hold like paranormal convention there every year that people would swarm to.
You could just make it like during the day a museum that people could walk through, and like at night investigations, you could
Yeah, dude, you could
double
even
your
make it a
money.
movie museum. It doesn't even have to be the actual Conjuring. Like it could just be the movie verse and have like props, and people would pay to go see it.
Like the Amelia Earhart Birthplace Museum, where they have a little bit of real history with the movie history. I
Yeah,
think that'd be perfect.
you could easily do stuff like that, and I think people would throw down 20-30 bucks a ticket for a day pass easily.
Yeah.
No question.
Now, I know I've never been there as far as a tour. David, have you?
I have not gone to the Conjuring house. No.
Yeah. Hopefully,
I've
at
been to
some
Rhode
point.
Island. We didn't get a chance to make it to there, which it's a very small state, so we probably should have. But I think it was during when we were there. It was one of those periods of like it was very up in the air of what you could actually do there, or and we didn't have time or money for renting out for like overnights or anything. It would have been we just want to kind of check it out during the day, and I don't think they did a lot of that as much. They did some, but it was again super weird the way everything was handled there the past century almost. Or decade, not century.
Yeah, I was gonna say, at least with the last owner, I know it was a little bit harder to film stuff and get it put on YouTube. So it would make sense why it would be cool to check out, but as far as like planning a trip to go there, it's like, is it worth it?
Yeah, because she had people spend thousands for a night. They'd show up and then nobody was there to let them in.
Yeah, and they would just lose the money.
And yeah, no refunds, no nothing. Just sorry.
Yeah. Which, okay, so this movie, kind of getting back to it, It tells the story of Sheba Sherman, who's a witch in the movie, was not a witch in real life.
In
Died of
real life,
natural causes.
she had like nothing to do with any of this.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, she was probably a good Christian woman. That her name is now.
Yeah, it's so bad to the point like people desecrate her grave
For no
because
reason.
they think it's a witch's grave. And I know depending who you went on tours with in the Conjuring house, they would tell you that Bathsheba Sherman had nothing to do with this.
Yep.
Other people would play into it, obviously, I'm sure, because of the movie and stuff like that. But
Interestingly enough, there's actually a lot of like other lore and stories about the actual house hauntings that had nothing to do with the movie. There's like soldiers or something that were buried there, and they'll hear that. Like I don't know. There's a lot of different ghost stories than what they chose to go with for the Conjuring movie, which is really funny because that's like the one that didn't happen.
yeah, like the 7 soldiers that are buried in
Exactly.
the
Like
wall.
that could have been the story easily, but
Oh yeah,
they didn't want to go with the one that actually had some historical basis for, oh, this did happen. They were like, oh, that's a weird name, Bathsheba. Oh, that's a witch.
that sounds like a witch's name. Actually, it just sounds like a lady from the late
Back then.
1600s. Yeah. Yeah. No, that one. I think when you dig into it, and that's where it becomes trying to separate. Like, it's a good movie, but it's just not very historically accurate. Even if you don't believe in the ghost stuff, it's not accurate to what the family claimed.
Right.
Right.
It's a good horror movie. It is
Mhm.
not a great historical movie.
Yeah. I'm trying to
So the
think.
Warrens would have loved it.
Yeah. Well, they did. She.
Lorraine liked it.
Yeah, Lorraine helped with it. I think
But
she was
yeah, because she
invited
was still
on
around,
this
I
too.
think, for the first one. I don't know if she was still around for the second one.
I want to say she was around for the first two. I don't know if she went to the premiere of the second. I know she went to the premiere of this one.
Right. Because Ed had already passed, but she was definitely here and like consulted on the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
Second one, I don't. She might have been around, but I don't think she was there for anything after that.
Yeah, yeah, and again, just very well, at some point we'll get into an Ed of Lorraine video because that is
A whole tub of worms
yeah,
of its own.
yeah. There's a very heated like almost Civil War type of feel between both sides in that community where people love
And
them, and hate
much
them.
like the real Civil War, I feel like there were some valid points on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
I think reality is kind of somewhere in the middle between those two kind of warring factions.
Well, and like you said, they've been there enough in so many cases they had to have found something, come across something, right?
I think they definitely did. And I think for their credit, I think they did genuinely help a decent amount of people.
Yeah.
I think a lot of their intentions were good, but I think one of their intentions also was, how can we become famous off of this?
Or at least finding cases that were in the news already and being
Yeah.
like, maybe we do want to help them, but at the
A
same
little more
time,
public eye kind of thing. Like, we'll help you, but what can we also get out of it? You know, they were kind of like Zach in that way, right?
I mean, to be fair though, Zach has stopped traveling and stuff like that, and he mainly stays in Vegas. Like they were like,
They were all over.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they would just like show up
I
places.
think they were much more genuine than Zach, even if they had their own like ulterior motives for some things. I think like Lorraine, from what I understand, she was actually a genuinely sweet person, and
Oh
she
yeah.
may have actually had a gift of seeing more than the average person, being sensitive. I don't know. It like you said, it's a very it's a difficult subject.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not black and white. It's very gray, I
Yeah,
think.
and I think there's a lot of things behind the scenes that are not publicly talked about
Mm-hmm.
that could have been going on that influenced a lot and things like that we may never know the true full story of the Warrens.
So as far as like the true story of the Conjuring house, or at least what we're told, David, do you want to run the audience through that?
I mean, it's kind of your standard haunted house kind of thing. Family moved in here and just started noticing weird things happening. Items would move, stuff like that, and they started getting dark feelings, stuff, seeing weird things. And once they started calling people in, one of the sensationalized part, like the biggest, like, oh my god, was probably when the Warrens were there and they actually did like a seance. They were all there in the room together and such. And the reports say that it seemed that his wife, I believe it was, got possessed during this and was like babbling, talking all this stuff, and the husband like tried to help her, like, oh my, like, rushed to her, and Ed was like, no, don't touch her, like trying to keep him away. And that's when the dude punched Ed and said, get the fuck out of my house, basically, and made them leave.
Which it looked like they wanted to include that a little bit in this movie. There's definitely some tension going on.
Yeah, it didn't go as far as with the real life, because then of course we wouldn't have had a movie. But they did a good job of some of that. I do know one of the daughters that was involved with all of it. I think Andrea, she has written, I think, 2 or 3 books all about their life in the house, what was happening. And she seems to go back and forth from like thinking it was something super evil to then a place of hope and light at some point. Like it kind of flip-flops of what may or may not have happened there. I know she's one of the ones that's really hoping that somebody like Jason takes over the house, Jason Hawes of Ghost Hunters, because she thinks that he would be the best for the community of having it. So I don't know. It's very hazy because whoever you talk to, everybody kind of has slightly different versions of what happened in the house.
Yeah. Well, and even if you talk to people in that community, I think it's just the Warrens hold so much like aura in that it really just goes down to who you want to believe. Like if you like the Warrens, you don't believe anything. If you like the Warrens, you believe it. You know what I'm saying?
No, I agree. They've become such almost mythological status of these iconic paranormal investigators that you don't really want to speak out against them.
Yeah,
especially now that they're gone.
Yeah, now that they're gone, and the Conjuring movies have made them into who they've made them into. I think we talked about this with Poe and just how they made Cusack look
better than what reality may have been. Yeah,
it's kind of that similar thing. Which, it's a movie you want your protagonist to be very likable, especially if they're fighting demons.
And they do come off as pretty likable in this movie, like, and you root for their relationship and for them, that they make it out.
Yeah, which I think they seem pretty likable throughout the whole series. It's not like there's a part where you're like, oh man, you're just a bad person. Why are you letting that going on?
Yeah,
you're always just out there trying to help people. Brenden, pulling it back to the movie itself, what are your thoughts with the Conjuring film?
It has a good story. I like how some of the little details they put in. My dog definitely had the attention of when the dog was around. Like my dog started watching the movie with us. And I don't know, she had a look on her face when the dog wouldn't even go into the house and started whining or would bark outside and stuff. It was kind of funny. So
such a good horror movie. The dog in your house was also freaked out.
Yeah. There was also some times where I don't know, I feel like I've watched so many like horror movies because my girlfriend really likes them that we do. We pretty much start in August and watch scary movies for like 3 months because we have so many. That part of me was like, I had to remind myself what happens in this one because I feel like a lot of them kind of have the same, not necessarily storyline, but they kind of feel the same. So.
Yeah, which, I mean, I can see that. They go in, or I should say the stories always are kind of, a family moves in, things escalate, somehow the Warrens get there, it's a little bad, and then there's the big finale. These first 2, though, I just remember I watched them back to back, not today, but a year or 2 ago, and they're just so, like, grounded. I wish we had a little bit more ghost movies like this, too, where they told true stories and didn't get super fantastical, because usually with true ghost stories, like I know we've had the Changeling, which was pseudo based off of the director's house he grew up in, Cheeseman Park here in Colorado, which is haunted because they just built houses in a park on top of a cemetery. So a little poltergeisty there. But yeah, again, I think me and David had talked about it off camera. It'd be cool to have more of these stories just like they happened. Even if it's a TV series, like put it on an HBO or something. I don't know, David. What streaming service do you think would do this justice, like a Warren series justice?
So I believe the actual one that they're making is, or at least Conjuring universe wise, I think is going to HBO.
Okay.
Which I think it's an okay fit because they do have the budget for it and they don't mind taking creative whatever they need, to do things. So that's fine. Um, Probably Netflix though would be the best for something of this caliber in terms of like if you're doing a show about paranormal investigators, not necessarily the Warrens, but just in general, kind of what we were talking about, the more realistic of, a case that happened or people doing real stuff. Probably somewhere like Netflix would be the best audience for it.
Yeah, and I could see that. I mean, given their history with kind of like the supernatural type
Yeah,
series.
I mean, either that or, of course, the king of streaming, Tubi, which you can sign up for Tubi right now. Just go to tubi.com/cools to start your 2-week free trial.
Guess what? It's always free. Was that thanks to us? I so as a horror
As Hulu's
film,
going away, it's definitely not a Disney Plus thing.
yeah.
Maybe somebody like Paramount, but that's usually like CBS shows. I don't see something like this succeeding very well on network television. It's more of a niche kind of thing that could grow an audience, but it's going to have to be like something streaming. Because even somewhere like Discovery Channel or Travel Channel, I don't think that it would get the audience that it would deserve,
Mm-hmm. Well, it wouldn't get the budget, I think, to
Right.
make it.
It'd be bare bones and not very good.
Yeah, it's not like Game of Thrones time anymore, where like some of these TV series get like outrageous budgets and like can just look like movies. And so, kind of going back to Zach, I know he had his like haunted museum series, and I think if it was on like primetime TV, it would look something like that.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if it would do it justice at all. But as far as like the movie aspect, David, how do you think they did a good job at least of like making it a storyline?
Oh yeah. I think they took a very almost simplistic story, very short, and stretched it into an entire narrative that I think works very well for what they wanted to accomplish. As a movie on its own, if it was a completely fictionalized thing, I think they succeeded in a good horror movie. It's it's good. It's only when you start to compare it to the real life things and bring in the actual Warrens and stuff that it starts to get sticky. But outside of that aspect, just movie wise, cinematography, soundtrack, the tone, the way that they set everything up, the characters, even the casting, I think all of it was pretty brilliantly done. I do see why it was able to launch a cinematic universe. I think we can let it go. Like 4 movies off of one case that they were involved in for like a day or two is insane. But past that, I think they did a very good job. It's definitely a solid movie. It honestly, it might be the best of the Conjuring movies. Second one might, maybe, I don't know. Like I'd have to rewatch all of them again to really judge. But it's definitely one of the better movies universe that they've done.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's good. I have no issues. Again, beyond if you're comparing it to the actual events that it's supposed to have been inspired by.
Yeah, and going to some views from like the family, Andrea Perrin, which we brought up, acknowledged that much of the film is fictional, but believes the movie captured the essence of what the family went through and considers it a fair reflection of the chaos and danger. So even though it's like fictional, she believes it's a fair representation of like what the family was going through, I guess.
I guess feeling that fear and the unknown and that's
Mhm.
something paranormal. And again, Lorraine was very much alive and part of this movie when it was being created. So it makes sense that this one would be solid for her to sign off and agree to, represent her and Ed.
Well, and is that why you think it doesn't go as grandiose as the later ones do?
I could see that, her being like, I want it to be great. Because honestly, just watching this first one, it does seem like realistically something that maybe could have happened to a paranormal investigator.
Mm-hmm.
The most sensationalized is probably Lorraine's parts herself, where she has her visions and such. Outside of that, the things that happen are not that far off from stories I've heard from people investigating things or, videos you'll see and things like that. So that could be a very possible reason that she was there to be like, I want to keep it as close to reality and grounded as we can. because again, regardless of what you may think of them, I do think Ed and Lorraine had a healthy respect for demonology, for and the dangers that kind of stuff represented. And regardless of some of the motives or what may have happened, I do think that they were very much pro, you need to believe in God and the good and stuff and avoid these evil things that very much are real and are out there. And this movie was a way to kind of get that message out to a lot of people about the realities that some scary shit like this does exist out there. So she probably took it almost as like a very widespread PSA.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it definitely inspired a lot of people. We talked about the Conjuring house itself became very big, but how many of those people became ghost hunters because of the film?
Yeah.
It reached a whole new
a new generation almost.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure when they were alive, there was plenty of people that picked up, interest because of seeing them on TV or at their schools or, presentations and stuff. And this is kind of a way for their work to continue living on. And like you said, Ed and Lorraine are now legendary figures in the paranormal community, regardless of what side of things you may fall on. Everybody knows them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's only a handful of these like legendary, I would say, paranormal people. Obviously, Ed and Lorraine probably
because it's kind of a new field if you think about it. When you compare it to other scientific, I guess you could say, fields of study, this is a very, very new one. That new stuff is being found and invented, and this is potentially the dawning of it, really. And they were some of the pioneers.
Yeah, I always like the idea that Houdini was like one of the first like ghost hunters.
He was definitely one of the first debunkers, like as skeptic as he was, but he gave things a real chance. Like he went through scientific processes of debunking things or proving them,
Yeah, because he wanted to believe. Like he went through that whole thing of like he wanted to find his mother after his mom died and communicate with her, and that's why he did it.
And honestly, like who doesn't? Who hasn't lost somebody and wanted to have hope that they could still reach them here in this plane somehow?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, yeah, Ed and Lorraine, I always put Houdini up there. And I think you got to put like Taps because just for like people our generation.
I think they're very close, but it's more of like ghost hunters. It's not so much specific names as much. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like a group.
Yeah, because like Jason's probably the most well known.
Jason and Grant, yeah.
But if you're not a ghost, like a paranormal person, those names don't mean anything to you. But you could be like the ghost hunter, Taps, the guys with like oh yeah,
Yeah, and I would say like the people that like ghost hunters or ghost adventures or whatever series people like, it's not as like hotly debated as the Warrens. Like you're not going to go to their hometown and have people on both sides so heated. Like if you go to a hometown, I think that's
because so much of what we see now is all filmed. Like you're seeing it, and yes, you may say like, oh, that was staged or whatever, but we have the footage. We see it. It's a much more open book on what they've done in this process. Yeah. Whereas the Warrens in their time period, it wasn't as documented. It wasn't. I mean, we have all the recordings they did and all the like writings and stuff, but that still comes down to, do you trust the Warrens or not?
Well, I think too, the thing that maybe makes it so hotly debated with the Warrens is the cases themselves are so hotly debated. Are they true or not? Because one of their big ones was Amityville, which people have gone back and forth saying that was all fake, and there's some people that say it was all real. So I think that in itself is just, the ghost hunters and ghost adventures and them today aren't just going to random people that are so publicized with something.
I gotta say, speaking of Amityville, that's like the one place that it blows me away. It's not a, hey, come and do investigations kind of place. It's like one of the only major, pop culture haunted kind of locations that they want nothing to do with crowds or anything, that it's just privately owned and people just live there.
I think that's really interesting. Like took the windows out so people won't even take pictures of it.
Yeah, that they don't know that. Yeah, like, oh, which house is it? And stuff. I think it's very interesting that they've never had anybody own it that wants to publicize it and make money, because you could make so much money off that house,
even as a B&B.
Easily. You could probably make more money there, because arguably that house is more famous than the Conjuring house.
Well, yeah,
maybe not now after all the movies and stuff, but I mean, the fact that it's still persisting as a very big thing now. If it opened up as an investigation zone, it would book out a year in advance in an instant.
Oh, I think if it was open to the public, it would be bigger than the Conjuring house.
I think so. I think you could get it to, yeah, especially because again, there's so many gray areas about it and so much debate on what is or isn't there. I mean, there's police reports from there of people seeing things like people crawling on the walls and shit. Like, it's hard to contest some of the stuff that happened there.
And there was still murders though, right? Like actual murders.
Oh yeah, he killed the whole family there.
Yeah. So it's not
Yeah.
like, even if you don't believe the family saw ghosts there, there's still dark history. Like there could be something there.
There's still very much grounds, I think, to investigate that location. I think it would be a huge hit.
Yeah, I think the name Amityville is bigger.
Yeah.
Than Conjuring. So I think if that ever opened up, another other cases was the Connecticut case, but in that
The
movie,
devil
they
made me
didn't-
do it thing.
no, the haunting in Connecticut. But
Yes,
in that
Haunting in
movie, they
Connecticut.
cut them out completely. They were like, out.
Yeah, they didn't want Warren involved in that one.
Mm-mm. So yeah, it's just I think it's a very interesting topic, and like I said, it's been in the news lately because of a lot of drama with the owners and staff and the barn burning down and now ownership rights. So we'll see what happens. Another of the locations that appears here is the Warren's house, which it sounds like we're going to be able to visit the house. And David, you said they're making the museum an actual museum somewhere else, right?
Yes. So what's happened is Matt Rife and Elton, who is a famous YouTuber kind of guy who did like paranormal stuff, they've apparently been friends. And a lot of people don't know this because they just know him for comedy, but Matt Rife has always been like a paranormal fan. And he was one of the people that really did want the Conjuring house a while back when it was possibly going to be sold. But of course, the owner didn't go for that. So it didn't sell then. But they ended up instead purchasing the actual Warrens house where the Warrens lived their whole lives together in Connecticut. And of course, the big thing about the Warrens house is they did have their museum at the bottom that was all of their demonic items, cursed objects, haunted things. And people couldn't go in there because so many people had come to visit before, like when the Warrens were alive and such, that the police literally fined them and such because they were not zoned to be a museum, and the neighbors hated people there all the time, all that kind of stuff. So it became very hard to get in there to see anything unless you were like a personal friend of theirs. Now what's happened is Matt and Elton own the house, and they do not own the items. They're not theirs, but they have been leased to them for right now a kind of a trial period of 5 years. So they've kind of become the caretakers of the items and can display them, but they do not own them. The plan is they are actually going to create an actual museum that will house all the items, and people will be able to like buy tickets and go like normal. But for now, until the museum is built and everything is taken care of, they are still in their original spots in the house, except for the tour that they've been doing, of course. But the items will live there in the house as they always have, and people can rent the house out as an Airbnb basically. And you get it for like a 24-hour period, a little more, to do overnight investigations of the Warrens house and access to all the items down in the museum area. I do believe they have somebody that stays there with you that's like caretaking, making sure you're not fucking with them.
Yeah, making sure you don't steal stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, there are some precautions, but for at least the first nights that they've released for people to book, it's the first 100 days. So it's 100 nights in a row that they're allowing people that are open to book, and they sold out the 100 nights in less than an hour. Like it went very quick, and you'll be able to not only stay at the house but see the items in their original place. They don't know yet if they're going to open up more nights after that for the items there, or if they'll be able to move into a museum by then. Personally, I would love to get in to see the items actually at the Warrens house, like they originally been. I think that'd be very cool. But and I mean, it's expensive, but it wasn't as expensive as the night at the Conjuring house.
No, and it's pretty on par for just like an Airbnb or any of these like haunted locations where it's like,
and especially a famous one like this. I mean,
yeah, and if you go with a group of people,
kind of the mecca of haunted items, I would say.
Yeah, and to go with a group of people, you're like, it's not that bad.
Like I think if we all went, I think we'd say like split up, it'd be like $200 or $300 a person or something.
Probably a little bit less, like 175, 225 ish.
Yeah, it was not bad at all.
Which is like a normal Airbnb price almost.
Yeah, like I'm keeping an eye on it. If they open up any more nights with everything there, I think we absolutely need to go do it because it would be It's one of my like paranormal bucket list things for sure. To not only be in the house, but to see all those items and everything, see Annabelle in person at the location seems so much better than seeing her like on tour somewhere. You know, I would love to actually just be in that area where, because again, regardless of what side you fall on, they're a huge part of paranormal history. Like, there's no denying that they're involved in some of those famous cases ever. And the fact that they worked a lot of that, talked about it, trained people, all this stuff in that house, like that was their headquarters. It would just be really cool to get to be there for a little bit of time.
Well, and even if you're not a fan of the paranormal, there's so many like relics and artifacts there that have so much story. So if you just like history, there's so
Yeah,
much to go see, I think.
it's
And
just
yeah,
interesting all the way around.
yeah, I think it's definitely one that would be cool if it opens up and I get a bonus. We're going there. I will just book it, because that would be pretty cool in itself. What was I gonna ask? I had a question, then I thought about getting a bonus.
The money, just like, whoa.
The money's like, you could go there, and I was like, oh, that'd be cool. So obviously with this transition, they're getting the new owners, which luckily they like the history. They're gonna make it open. One thing that they're doing right now is what's it called? Ryan Buell and some people are going in and collecting a lot of these paperwork
Yes, like digitizing them, I believe,
and
right?
digitizing them and putting them. And I think eventually they'll go to this museum and people will be able to go there and do research, which would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think, you know, the Ed and Lorraine Paranormal Research Museum, absolutely fantastic. And people could go and look into all their documents, everything, because they did gather a shit ton of stuff that had to do with all the paranormal happenings.
One look at all the things that we've talked about on our channels, be it Roswell, Flatwoods, Mothman. Like all these places have museums and festivals, and whether they're true or not, people want to go, and it's just so strange to me that they don't capitalize off of it.
Yeah. And Tony, their son-in-law, that of course with their daughter Judy, he recently posted something, I think actually earlier this past week, that people apparently have been making up a lot of rumors and guff about the fact that they sold it. And he's like, you know, the fact is it was doing nothing. And we were paying like 10,000 plus a year in taxes just to keep this house. And it just did not make financial sense for them to be, you know, to be blowing it. And there was a whole lot of things that apparently Matt and Elton stepping in, like it was like a big blessing to them that they found people that not only would respect it, but find a way to open it to the public to keep that story going and not be a constant drain on their limited resources of, you know, trying to uphold this legacy, but, you know, it kind of hurting them.
Yeah, because at the same time, they're not getting any younger, so they want it to continue the history. So I'm sure, as far as them just selling it, they weren't just going to sell it to anybody. I'm sure they did their due
They had to do
diligence.
their vetting. I'm sure they
Yeah,
did.
yeah. And so, luckily, like you said, it went to people that have the interest and are going to, keep it open for what it is and let people enjoy it. And it gets back to the Conjuring. I don't think they're going to be the same people that buy that house.
I don't think Matt and Elton want it. I mean, they want it. I know they've even said that it'd be awesome to own both. But as much as it's going to go for, I think they'll be like, hey, we got our prize. And honestly, if I had to pick, I'd rather have the Warrens' place.
Yeah.
I think that's a much cooler part of the history, the legacy, especially with the lease of the items. And you know, if that lease goes well, it's going to eventually turn into them owning those items. Because like you said, Tony and Judy are not getting any younger. I don't think, eventually I think it is going to be the museum is going to own them, and that's going to be where they stay forever. I'd much rather have that piece of history and explore that. Like if somebody told me I had a free night at either one, I'd pick the Warrens' house in a heartbeat over the Conjuring house.
Yeah, just because there's so many different stories in there, and just to see all the artifacts that we've heard so much about, would be super cool. I don't know. I'm interested. I think with the amount of money that Conjuring House is going to go for, and obviously Rife and them bought that one house for $1 million-ish, I think.
Which
it was around
pretty good deal, I think.
Yeah, it's a lot less than what Conjuring's going to go for, and I think for that amount of money, you're not just going to tear it down. Of course, we have seen people do crazy things, but I think it's going to be someone that knows they can make some money.
I just hope it's not somebody that wants to bleed money. Do you know what I mean? Because if somebody just wants to extort it, they'll still get people in there for a crazy amount, but it'll become inaccessible to most regular paranormal investigators, I think. It'll be the big YouTubers and stuff that can afford 10,000 a night type things. Whereas if somebody like Jason or such gets it, I do think it'll be a more reasonable, like, hey, $1,500 for the night for all of you and film whatever you want. Like still a lot, but not out of the realm of possibility. Again, if you're splitting it up with a couple people or something like that, that you can justify doing it at least once.
Yeah, and if they have like a amount of people that have to go, and make it a little bit easier, because then you're like, oh, we have to get 10 people. Well, then it's 150 a person.
Like that's not bad at all. Yeah, that's something that's reasonable. And from what I understand, the house needs a lot of upkeep. I heard it's very much in disarray, that they're gonna have to do a lot of work just to get it like inhabitable.
Yeah, and I think
Or I
that's
guess habitable. It's inhabitable now.
Yeah. No, I think that's the worry with it, is if they don't get it into someone's hands now that wants to take care of it, it's going to end up the way that Bobby Mackey's did, where
If it goes too far, they just can't. Yeah.
Where it's actually just falling apart. Like Bobby Mackey's was just literally slowly falling apart.
And I'll tell you, if something happened, like let's say for some reason there was like a lightning strike, the house caught on fire, it burned down. They rebuild like a replica exactly as it was. I would have no interest in staying there.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's on the land or what. Like if it's not the original house, I personally could care. Like I have no desire to go to Bobby Mackey's now. I might have gone to the original one, even though that's a whole nother who said what, all that. But
yeah, that's a whirlpool of
building.
Really?
Yeah, I just don't feel like it doesn't have the same thing at all, in my opinion.
Yeah. Though, to be fair, at least with The Conjuring, there is a lot of stories within the woods itself.
There are, like the outside. They've said, I've heard some people say that have worked there, like the outside is more haunted than the house.
Yeah, which is, I guess the movie tried to incorporate with some of the haunts and scares were outside on the pond and stuff like that. So it was kind of cool. And I think the bummer with the previous ownership is, depending who you weren't allowed outside the house. If you were a bigger YouTuber, you could go actually explore the woods at night.
Yeah, it was like, how much publicity will you bring me?
Yeah, you and me, we're inside the house.
They'd be like, you guys can stay in this room. We don't even have the whole house.
Yeah, we actually rented out the house to another YouTuber. You guys can go into like the barn.
Yeah, you guys get this half of the barn. And you
Is
can't
the barn on fire? Yeah, you guys will be fine. Just go.
We better not hear you.
We'll give you a pail of water. Here you go.
Good luck. No refunds.
Yeah, no refunds. Brenden, if this opens up, are you coming with us to the Conjuring house?
Sure.
Or would you stay with us at the Warrens' house?
That one more, but I mean, either one would be fun.
The Warren would be more. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that.
I think that's more realistically where I would aim to go. I'd rather go to the Warrens personally.
Mm-hmm. Especially right now when you can still see everything there. Because once you move it out, it's still cool. You can go to the museum or whatever, but it just has a different feel when it's in the house.
Yeah, I totally agree. But for what it's worth, I do hear that once the museum opens and they move the items over there, the Airbnb, it'll be like you're staying in the house, but then you're also going to have several hours of private overnight time at the museum with the items.
And hey, even if they lose those items, you can put inside that room
what
the Conjuring movie props and stuff.
You could make a museum of the movies. Yeah.
Go in and put like the movie Annabelle. You could put some of these movie props.
They have one of the movie Annabelles from the first movie.
Do they?
They gave it to Lorraine after they did like the movie or whatnot, and it's down near the actual Annabelle.
Nice. Yeah, see, I think, and that would still be a fun way to kind of keep like, okay, this is still that room. It's not the same, but it has the same type of feel. So hopefully,
make it more like a movie set than the actual things. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully they do that. That'd be kind of cool. But yeah, we've gone, I think, the longest episode so far. We can keep going, I'm sure, because this is such a rabbit hole topic, and we will at some point. I know we've talked about talking about all the drama and what's going on, but it keeps going on. There's like not been an end. So when there's a definitive end, we know what the
Or at least a
update's
big
gonna
enough
be.
thing to talk about a lot on.
Yeah.
Like maybe not the
So
end, but a massive like development.
yeah, if we find out who buys it, like I'm sure we'll be back here. If it's a special episode, we'll come back on it.
Yeah, definitely.
But Brendan, going back to the movie, what are your final thoughts? Do you rate? Do you recommend it? And what's your rating?
I think 7.5 out of 10. I don't know. I liked it. It had a good story. I just think it could have been. I don't know. I think David said earlier, a little too dependent on jump scares. Or maybe you said it. So.
David, what about you?
Yeah, kind of like we've talked about. I can't separate it as much in my mind from the historical of what actually happened in this. I try my best. I think it is a good horror movie on its own, but again, I'm not really a huge horror movie person, even though I love like the paranormal, all that kind of stuff. I'm more into the real life stuff, and I guess kind of nerdy to like the the geeky historical aspects and the actual investigation parts. Like Brennan said, not as huge a fan of like the jump scares and such. They don't like get me. I'm just like, all right, it just feels a little cheap to me. But overall, I think they did a really good job of bringing in, the Warrens into a pop culture world, taking these real figures, turning them into pretty decent sized figures now that people know about. Overall, I think great movie, especially if you separate it from the historical basis. If it was completely fictional, this would be a great, great horror movie. I'm going to have to say like 8 out of 10.
Yeah, for me, I've never been big into ghost movies. Just not a huge fan, and I don't know if that's because I actually go out and investigate. So when I see these movies, they seem overdone and
So different from reality.
yeah, and it almost feels like it's poking fun at. I like Ghostbusters, obviously. Who doesn't?
But that's supposed to be like a comedy aspect. It's not saying this is reality.
But I do remember like watching The Conjuring, and even though the historical part of my brain wants to not like it, I'm like, it's just so much more grounded than a lot of these ghost movies.
I agree
that I appreciate it.
It's almost realistic.
Yeah, it's almost realistic. Like we said, there is some issues, and we can go on a deep dive. We can compare the true history at some point with that, because that's a whole story. But I like how grounded they keep it. There's no like, I guess there's some levitating parts, but nothing unusual. Like David said, you've probably heard about similar occurrences if you've read into enough paranormal stories. And the biggest thing is the ghosts possess the lady to try to kill the daughter. It's not like the ghost is killing people. Like when we get to Last Rites and there's like blood water flying everywhere, and it just seems super dramatic.
And a floating mirror, and
yeah. And again, by that point, Lorraine was also gone. And now that I think of it, that's probably why they get more off the rails as they went, because Lorraine wasn't there, kind of trying to keep it grounded. So I think as far as paranormal movies go, realistic paranormal movies, this is one of the better ones, maybe the best, just because it is grounded and it's not super sensationalized. To like, I'm fighting those words because at the same time, it is super sensationalized because it's fake,
but not the way that Hollywood does. I know what you mean.
Yes, yeah, but not as far as like these wild creatures and stuff.
It could have gone way more off the rail. The witch could have come up out of the ground and cast spells and
yeah. Again, just go to Last Rites and you can see like it's starting to go off the rail. That one didn't go off the rails some of these movies, but La Llorona is another one. It's so strange. I don't know. So to me, I think a solid 8.5. It's definitely one of the best paranormal movies that's supposed to be based on a true story, I think. So that wraps up our Halloween season 2025. next year, I know we've hinted at it these last couple collabs that we've done, but hopefully next year we can actually do like some collabs in locations and just do some like actually fun. And we'll do movies too because I've enjoyed this like talking, Halloween movies. But hopefully next year we can get back to doing some collab videos in locations. David, speaking of fun locations, I know you've been giving videos for the viewers to check out. What's a good Halloween one for today?
A really cool one. We actually have a couple of them that we have done from Gettysburg, which is a super haunted location. Tons of ghost stories there. We have an actual investigation that we did at the Ginny Wade house, which was the only civilian who died during the Battle of Gettysburg, amazingly. Nobody else in the city, but she did get shot and killed. So we do an entire investigation of her house that was very interesting. But we also have a museum that we visited out in Gettysburg, which was the Museum of Haunted Objects, kind of like we were talking about with Ed and Lorraine's house and their little things they had going on. So there's items in there that had some very spooky stories attached to them, and even one or two items in there that are from this original Conjuring house. So good time of year to check that out. You can do it over at our channel, Abnormal Voyages.
Yeah. And we'll definitely be back if you guys want to hear us talk more Conjuring. We have done Last Rites. I think we talked for almost 2 hours on that movie, so go check that out. But we have quite a few Halloween just deep dives. So for now, go check that out. We do have plenty of paranormal like investigations, EVPs, stuff like that on the channel because that's kind of how we got our start on here on YouTube. So I try to keep that going. This is definitely the time of the year. I know you guys come back to those videos. The Haunted Castle Rock tour has been doing much, much better this year than last year. So thank you guys for that. But until next time, for more Culz reviews, deep dive, check the link to your left. More here at Culz to the right. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And let us know, out of just the 4 mainline Conjuring films, which one's your favorite? Tell us in the comments below.